Good morning. Welcome to Prime Time. Prime Time brings you programming that celebrates learning in and beyond the classroom with Bethel faculty, students, and staff, and is a collaboration between the Friends of the BU Library, Academic Affairs, and other offices on campus. We're so glad you joined us. We're off to a great start this fall. As a reminder, in case you aren't able to attend a presentation, they are recorded and are made available through the Bethel Digital Library Community Video Collection. Today, we welcome Justin Aakre, Instructional Technologist and Bethel's Moodle Consultant. This is a talk about teaching presentation, where Justin will be training you, our faculty, about the various ways to set up a Moodle Gradebook. Welcome, Justin.
Thank you, Dr. Fisher. Okay. My name is Justin. I am the Instructional Technologist for Bethel. Today, I'm going to go over the three different aggregation methods for the Moodle Gradebook. I'll go over the pros and cons of each. I'm going to talk through how to add extra credit to a Moodle Gradebook and a couple different ways we can do that. And then I'm going to give some grading tips on the 4 activities commonly found in a Moodle Gradebook. To begin, I have made a mock syllabus, which would have something that would look like this. So this is what I call a grade breakdown. And here I can see that assignments have a certain percentage, forums. So assignments are 30, forums are 10, quizzes are 20, and exams are 40. And it all adds up to 100. I've seen this in almost every single syllabus, if not all syllabuses that I've opened. And this is what I'm going to use to drive how I build a Moodle Gradebook. There are 3 types of aggregation methods for the Moodle Gradebook. There is simple weighted mean of grades, weighted mean of grades, and natural. Simple weighted mean of grades is weighting grades against themselves. So we have various activities worth various points, and we are going to weight them according to our syllabus. Options are very minimal in the simple weighted mean of grades. It really provides a simple way to drive forward, a very flexible way to drive forward, but it doesn't give us a lot of customization. The next option is weighted. It's going to be a very similar structure to the simple weighted, but it's going to have a lot more options for us. And then finally, we have natural grading. Natural grading really means that 1 point is worth 1 point, regardless of where it's found. So 1 point on a quiz is worth 1 point on a final exam, and we'll talk through how do we build that. That's really a predefined method that we want to do from the start, but it is an option. To begin, I'm going to start by opening up the gradebook setup in my simple weighted mean of grades course. I do have 3 courses open that all have various stages of a course built, but we're going to start with our simple weighted. Within this, we can see that I have a couple assignments, forums, quizzes, and exams, but there isn't anything built out as far as our structure. So if we go back to our breakdown, we can see that our assignment should be 30, forums should be 10, quizzes 20, and exams 40. And that is not represented here in this gradebook. So to begin, I'm going to build 4 categories, and those categories are going to share that breakdown that we saw in the syllabus. So our first category is going to be for assignments, and that was worth, I believe, 30%. So we are going to put that 30 under this maximum grade. And then we're going to keep going with forums, and that was worth 10 points. We can see this menu is just a little bit differently. The category total is automatically closed, but the maximum grade field does still exist, so we're going to put 10 there. All of these categories are built at the bottom and aren't populated yet. We'll get to that in just a moment. So we're going to move on to our quizzes. That was 20%. Also, I want to point out this aggregation field right here. This is where we have our 3 options. In this one, we're using simple, so I'm just leaving it at the default. But for our future ones, we're going to make sure we switch this to the appropriate aggregation. Quizzes was worth 20%. And then we're going to add one last category worth 40%. So now we have the shell, or the categories that align with our syllabus, but they aren't actually doing anything yet. So we need to move these items into the appropriate categories. The simplest way that I found is to check the box on the right side for the activities we want to move. So I have selected assignment 1 and 2, and I'm going to move down to the bottom and choose move selected items, and we're going to put them into our assignments category. And we're going to do the same thing for forums, quizzes, and exams. Just to take a small break here, we can see that assignment 1 and 2 is in our assignments category. Forum 1 and 2 is in forums. Quizzes and exams don't have anything yet. We'll keep going with quizzes. And then finally our one exam that we have. I'm going to leave extra credit out for now. We'll get to that in just a moment. So here we see assignments is worth 30%. Our forums are worth 10%. That's represented in that number here. Quizzes are 20 and exams are 40. It all adds up to 100. This number is not going to change. So if these numbers are off, we do have to manually identify that by adding them up. This just means that our course total is 100, and we'll see that when we go to grade students. The pros of this is it doesn't matter how many points I have in assignments. I can keep adding assignments 1 through 10. I can add them at 10, 50, 100 points. It doesn't matter. It's always going to be 30% of the gradebook. Each assignment is weighted against each other. So we can see that 100 of the 150 points in the assignments is coming from assignment 1. So that's the weighting. If I do poorly on assignment 1, my chance of doing well in the assignment category is not great. It's helpful, as in the forums, to have them weighted equally against each other. So here is 10 points and 10 points. It's just easier for the student to identify where the points are coming from. But if you do want to have some assignments have more weight in the gradebook, you can have them worth more. The con of this is there's no further customization that I can do. If I needed an assignment to be worth exactly 17 points or 17% of the grade, I would choose to add another category, and that would be worth 17%, and adjust my other categories accordingly to get down to 100. I can't choose that assignment 1 is going to be worth equal to assignment 2, even though they have different point values. Next, I'm going to move over to weighted mean of grades and go into the gradebook setup. We can see here that I've already pre-built a lot of the same structure. So we can see our assignments are 30, forums are 10, and quizzes are 20. This weight is the number that I care about as far as the weighting of the gradebook. The assignment total and the forum total are both set to 100, but quizzes is set to 20. That number really doesn't matter. I'll show you what it looks like from the student's perspective, but it doesn't affect the weighting at all. Lastly, we see that exam 1 and 2 aren't in a category, but I wanted them to be weighted differently than each other. I have 40% and 60%. So I am able to adjust the weighting against each other, even though they're worth the same amount. In this one, I'm going to do the same process of add a category. We call this exams.
Could you kind of go back over that? Because like a moment ago, you were just saying, if I had like a bunch of assignments, let's say under like daily assignments, and try to keep them at the same percentage, but now I could weigh one more than the other?
Yes. Give me just a moment. So we have exams. I'm going to choose my aggregation method down to weighted. My category, again, per the breakdown, is supposed to be 40%. And I'm going to save changes. So the question came up as to, in the simple weighted, I can't change anything.
Right.
This is a different aggregation method, so this is just the weighted. So now I am able to determine that while these assignments are worth the same amount, I actually want assignment 1 to be worth 80% and assignment 2 to be worth 20%. So we have additional customization than we had in the simple, but we do get a lot of additional numbers on this page. It's not as easy to look at. So there's the pro here is that we have a lot of customization. We can say that assignment 1 is different than assignment 2. The con is that it is much harder to adjust moving forward. If I added assignment 3, I would need to go back in and readjust these two numbers to be aligned with what I want to be that assignment total.
Okay, thank you.
So we do need to add our exams into our exam category.
Whoa!
And here we can see that this isn't actually set. So I set this to 40. That's that category maximum. But this weight didn't actually get set when I added the category. So I'm just going to click into this field and type in 40 and hit enter. And here we can see our categories are now weighted appropriately. So we have 30, 10, 20, and 40.
The subcategories underneath, that was that the button that says like add subcategory under, like once you're in the category, you add a subcategory?
Yes, so I could do a subcategory. Let's just say I wanted my, maybe quizzes would be the best option. Maybe I have specific like pre-test quizzes and post-test or pre-module quizzes, post-module quizzes, and I want them broken up. I could do a subcategory for that to further weight those quizzes. Here, I've just got them weighted equally, so it's not adding up to 100. It doesn't matter because they're weighted equally. It is very beneficial to have them add up to 100 just for the visual for the students, but Moodle is just going to add these up and weight them against each other regardless of what it adds up to. Moving on, we have natural. Again, I'm going to go into the gradebook setup. Natural, again, just means that a 1 point is worth 1 point. So we can see at the very bottom that this course has 200 points in it. I've already defined how many points I'm going to have. Again, the con of this one is I do need to figure out how many points I want total in this course. As I continue to add points, the worth of previous assignments just keeps going down. So here I have 30 points for assignments. I've done this just by having 60 points in this category. Oh, let me go back. So I've had to define that I want 200 points and that 60 of them are going to come from assignments so that the weight would be 30%. I've had to define that I would have 20 total points for the forums. The weighting isn't actually used, it's just there to show what it's worth. I could click in to adjust it, but these are automatically set by the point values in the natural grading. My two quizzes got up to 40% or 20%. We can see this is just the point value of the two items in there. And then our exams are 30 and 50. These are not in a category, and that's actually completely fine in a natural grade book. Categories are fairly negligible for the natural grading, just because they are adding up and averaging out a selection of the grades, but the values are coming from the grades themselves. I am going to add a category for exams. I'm going to choose to be natural. And here we can see that when I choose natural, this is grayed out because this is getting defined by the items within it. So natural is going to be worth, or exams is going to be worth 0 points. But when I add the two exams to it, it's going to be worth 80 points. So we can see at the bottom, we have our 80 points. And out of the 200 points, that is worth 40%. So pros of this is I know where all of the points are coming from. I can define them at the beginning of the semester and figure that out. The cons is exactly the same pro as I have to do all of the math prior to the semester. I can't move forward and add anything new because it completely messes up the point system that I had built prior. Next, I want to move on to, thank you, adding extra credit. There are two ways to add extra credit. I can say that this 2%, or these 2 points of extra credit are worth 2%. So we have the 100% at the bottom of the grade. I could say that the extra credit is worth 2% towards the overall grade. Or I could say that the 2% applies only to the exams category. Maybe I had a study session and you just get 2 points of extra credit towards your exam just for showing up and participating in the study session. To do each, or to do the percentage at the bottom, or 2% towards the total, I'm going to add a category, and I'm going to call this extra credit. Again, I'm in the simple weighted mean of grades course, so I'm going to leave the aggregation, and I'm going to set this maximum grade to 2 points. Now, initially, it looks like I have just an additional 2 points, so I would have 102. I do need to go in and adjust this to be extra credit. Under parent category, I now have an additional checkbox. I didn't have this during category creation. I do have this when I edit the category. So now it is 2 points of extra credit, or 2% of extra credit, and then I'm going to move my 2 points into my extra credit category, so that when I go and grade or enter a score for the students to be 1 or 2 points, they will get 1 or 2 points of extra credit at the end. If I wanted to do the extra credit for the exams, I will go and add a grade item. I'm going to call this one exam extra credit, just so that I don't have the same grade item in the gradebook twice. I'm going to say this is 2 points, and I can choose, once I have put it in the exams category, so I'm building it right into the exams category, that it's going to be extra credit. So now there are technically 102 points in the exams category, only graded out of 100, and you get 2 points for what I have defined to give you as extra credit. These 2 points of extra credit from the exams and the 2 points of extra credit at the bottom are not the same. This 2% is going towards this 100, and this 2% is going towards this 40. So extra credit total is just worth more in general than being applied to a specific category. Lastly, I do want to identify 4 tips for grading each of the tools. So I'll have 1 tip for assignments, forums, quizzes, and grade items. The first one is assignment 1. The easiest way that I found to grade specifically papers is if I change my forced submission to a PDF. So I can type in PDF in all caps. I can change this to PDF like that. And then with under feedback types, if I have annotate PDF here, the assignment submission for the student will automatically show up when I go to grade. That just allows me to not have to download each assignment and then open up the gradebook and grade it. It just prevents the entire download, and I can read it all within Moodle. There would be cases where I probably do want to download it. If it's a 25-page paper, you probably don't want to be reading that in Moodle. It might be simpler to even print that out. But now when I go to grade assignment 1, I don't actually have a PDF submission from a student here, but if I did, it would show up in this field here, and then I'd be able to grade it over here. And so all students would be forced to use PDF, and I can go from one to the next very simply.
So if you type it, that forces it. What if you go and click just PDF as
Yes.
an option?
Yep. The other option, instead of typing it, you can see all of the submission settings if you go to that choose option setting.
Because I feel like when I click the just PDF, they still can upload Word.
So if I click on, the question was if I type in PDF, can they submit anything else? I will point out that if I go down and choose document files, all of these file types are actually accepted. So I want to only have PDF checked. Because if I still have document files checked, then Word documents are still allowed. So I do want to narrow down to just PDF.
And the same is true if you only want DocX.
Yes, yep. So the same menu can also be applied if you want to force students to submit a DocX file or something else. You can specifically choose that type of submission and force students to submit it that way.
Don't click the header.
So here we have just PDFs, and then when I go to grade, students will be forced to submit PDFs. Moving on to forums. Whole forum grading was a grading method introduced a couple years ago. I have whole forum grading here and I have ratings here. So ratings used to be the primary grading method for forums. Whole forum grading was introduced in the upgrade to 3.9. It allows me to choose either simple direct grading, so entering a score 0 through 10, marking guide or rubric, just like we have in assignments. In this case, I'm going to leave it at simple and choose 10 points for this forum. We can see that here in my grade category, it is set to forums, which we said earlier. What whole forum grading does is it adds this grade users button. So just like in assignments, I can click grade users to grade all students. And it's going to show every submission by that person. So I have not posted to this forum, but we can see that Mary has. We can see Mary's initial post, and we can see all of her replies. The easiest way is here is a reply, just like an email. So this is a reply to somebody else. I have the ability to click on View Parent Post, and I can see what Joe's post was. So here I can see all of her initial post and all of her responses. I can enter a grade over here. I'll save it, and then I can move on to the next student. So instead of having to search through and find everybody's submission, it just shows it to me all at once. The third method for quizzes. Quizzes are fairly straightforward to grade depending on your question type. We can see question 1 was automatically graded. Question 1 is a true-false question. However, question 2 is an essay question. I can certainly click into requires grading, see what the question was and the response, and click on mark, comment, or override. It will open up a new box and I can enter the grade here. A simpler method and a faster method is to go back to quiz 1. I got here just by clicking on quiz 1 from the main course page or navigating in this top menu. And from this gear icon, I can choose manual grading. What this does is it shows me all of the questions that need to be manually graded. And then I can click on grade, and it will show me what the question was for Joe, the response by Joe. I can enter a comment or a grade. And I can move on to Mary. And so I'm able to see all of the students at once. I'm seeing the exact same question over and over. So what I'm expecting for a response to give points to, my brain is already geared towards that. And I can just go from one to the next to the next. Lastly.
Does that go in a random order for a particular reason?
Yes. So there was a setting for that just to avoid any discrimination. You don't have to. But it is default to set to a random order.
Okay, and there's a button to
Yes.
go alphabetical.
Yep.
Because if you click out and don't grade, and then you come back in and it's random again, then then you're like grading up, down, like.
So the question was posed: if you break it up, where you don't finish all grading at one time, what actually happens? So here we can click to grade all, and this is just filtering which students I've yet to grade. So if I've graded Joe but I haven't graded Mary, this would be a 1, and I could click directly to grade and it would show me just the ones that I haven't graded yet. There's also a setting up at the top, order attempt, so I could choose randomly, and I can also order it by specific, maybe by date or alphabetically. I can also choose how many questions per page. And I can see if I want to choose just the ones that need grading or if I'm going to see all students. Lastly, I want to go over grading grade items. Again, grade items are activities like exams that I've given in person that students don't actually need to submit anything to Moodle, but I do want to use a grade placeholder. So exam 1 would have been an exam I given in person, and I want to grade it. The easiest way to enter scores, well, you certainly can just go through the grader report, scroll over, find exam 1, click into the cell, type in the number, hit enter. You can also go to single view, choose that grade item. So I'm going to choose exam 1. And now I can see all of the students and what grade they are, and I can just go from one to the next and click save. I can also do a bulk insert for any empty grades. Maybe this is a grade item that I just wanted, they showed up, they get 2 points of extra credit. I can do bulk insert for any empty grades, hit 2, and then go and remove students that didn't show up. So instead of doing 60 students, I can just do the 3 clicks for the students that didn't show up. That is the end of what I have prepared. Any other questions to go over? I haven't checked chat yet. Doesn't look like there's any in the chat for Zoom. But any other questions for grading?
So if you're in the simple forum where you just type in the 10 points, there's no way to just add a simple comment line below that?
What do you mean a simple comment?
Just like a comment.
When you're grading, there is always the option to add a comment. So if it was a forum, if I'm using whole form grading, there is, for forums, I do need to use marking guides to add comments. There is always the ability to add a comment somewhere. If I go back to the gradebook, I think I can even do it from overrides.
Right. Is that something on the list that maybe could be added, just having a comment line under that?
It is built for like rubrics and simple, or for marking guides, just so that you can provide a comment line by line. I don't know if it's in the works.
So you just make a really simple marking guide with just 2.
You could make a very simple marking guide. You could say like 0 through 6 points for the initial post, 0 through 4 points for the replies, and then add in a comment for like, I really appreciate your insight on X, something like that. One thing I haven't done actually is gone to the user report for each of the menus. So I want to showcase what the user report looks like for each student. So simple weighted mean of grades for the student, I'm going to choose Joe. We can see the 30% of the category, or sorry, the 30 points of the category, what percentage of points he got, and then this is the contribution to the course total. So we can see that to get collectively, he got 25 points here, which is shown here, and it goes all the way down. We can see he currently has an 83%. If we add up all of the percentages on the right, we would get to 83. If I go over to the weighted mean of grades and go to user report, it's going to look very similar. But we do have those options where we gave some weights more than others. For example, assignment 1 we set to 80% and assignment 2 we set to 20. So we can see that how that is affecting the contribution to the course total on the right side, but collectively they look very similar. And then natural, we have the same option to go to the user report. And we can see that what percentage, again, contribution towards the course total, but where the points are actually coming from. So it looks like he got 45 points in assignments, 16, 28, and it all adds up to 164 out of 200 for a total of 82%. Any other questions? Looks like we might have a couple in the chat. So the first question from Lynn Nixon, if you put extra credit within a category, as I did in exams, does that expand the possible category total? Great question. Let's go back over to the simple weighted mean of grades, which is where I had the extra credit. So we can see that this was worth 40% of our total grade. It does not change this number. This number is set in stone from the beginning. It doesn't change regardless of how many points. All it does is it says that there's 102 possible points, but it's going to be graded out of 100. If a student got the 2 extra credit points and got a 100 on the exam, they would actually get like 41 points or whatever the math equals out for the exam's total. We also had a question for, so Jackie has a question. I have items, grade items, like exam 1 that I want to change to Moodle assignments. Those do have to be recreated. I can't actually convert anything. I can't convert quizzes to assignments or forums to assignments. I do have to create those brand new. So you would involve deleting the old one and adding a new one. Great questions. Any other questions for today?
If you change your allowed document to a PDF in like grading, say short reflection papers,
Yep.
You're not able to comment in the text at all then, are you? You just have that general comments category.
Great question. So we have the question on if we force PDFs for assignments, how can I actually make a comment within there? There are a few annotation tools within here. So we have the option to like add a text box or a comment a specific color. So there are a few annotation tools that we can use. They're not going to be as robust as I would be using on Microsoft Word, but they do exist in Partial. So if you did have a 25-page paper, I would highly encourage you to use proper annotation tools. But this does work for smaller assignments. Students have to click into their assignment to actually see these annotations. So it's not going to be visible from the gradebook. It's not actually going to be visible if they click into the assignment. They actually have to click into their submission to see the annotations.
Thank you.
I think that's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope we learned something. I will end my support line, or all of the support tools can be reached on this Moodle support block on the Moodle dashboard. 651-635-2323 is my direct phone line. Otherwise, we have consultation for technical support that will set up a 30-minute Zoom meeting. We also have consultation for instructor curriculum support, which connects with our ID team on course design. And then we also have various email options as well, if I'm not available. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Justin.